It's June 23. This is the Wednesday edition of the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. It was the news that sections of the country had been anticipating an easing of some of the restrictions under the Disaster Risk Management Act. Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced a raft of amendments in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Among the changes are the reopening of the entertainment sector and changes in the curfew hours. Simone Absalom Gale reports.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says reopening the entertainment sector is critical to the country's economic recovery.
The restrictions that were necessary have taken a massive toll on the livelihoods of many. They have also had negative psychosocial impacts on the population, including our children. Among the industries most severely impacted have been the entertainment, culture, and creative industries. By their very nature, these industries, which thrive on close in-person contact, were among those that had to be suspended. Within 3 months of the first positive case of COVID-19 in Jamaica and the initiation of prevention measures, we were able to resume some entertainment activities. Unfortunately, we had to reimpose restrictions after we saw our numbers rise.
JHTA President Clifton Reeder says opening the entertainment sector will undoubtedly pump some life and dollars into the nation's tourism product. In his address to Parliament, the Prime Minister said the government is contemplating categorizing events according to the number of attendants with specified protocols.
Madam Speaker, precise statistics are not available given the large degree of informality of the sector, but the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Task Force sought to estimate this economic activity. The task force estimated the total level of economic activity of the entertainment, culture, and creative industries at 84.1 billion Jamaican dollars, excluding economic activity generated from intangibles such as trademarks, music catalogs, and images.
COVID safety protocols such as physical spacing between persons and sanitization will continue to be enforced. Mr. Holness also announced that curfew hours will be extended as of July 1.
Effective July 1, 2021, the curfew will begin at 11 p.m. on Monday to Saturday and 6 p.m. on Sunday and end at 5 a.m. the next morning until August 11, 2021.
Funerals and church services can have up to 30 people in attendance.
So effective Thursday, June 24, 2021, we will modify the existing order to phase in new measures for places of worship and cinemas. We will modify the restriction on the number of persons allowed to be physically present for worship services from the current limit of 50 persons to a capacity-based limit depending on the size of the designated area for worship. And when I say designated area, every church would have their worship hall. Funeral services will be allowed with a maximum of 30 persons present inside the church or other place of worship or a funeral home. This maximum limit of 30 persons includes the mourners as well as clergy and any support personnel. Indoor theaters and cinemas will be allowed to open with the same size-based capacity limitation, slightly different in how it is phrased, 1 person for every 40 square feet or 70% of seated capacity, whichever is lower.
As for other safety protocols?
Madam Speaker, work from home. The existing work from home directive in the public sector is being extended until August 10, 2021. Therefore, only persons who work in critical service delivery and perform job functions that require them to be at the physical location should be required to be at the office or business place or workplace. At this time, we are focusing on vaccination of the elderly, as well as teachers, healthcare, and security personnel but will shift our focus as soon as we can to the wider public sector.
The quarantine period for fully vaccinated people will remain at 8 days. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom Gale.
The presence of embattled Member of Parliament George Wright in the House of Representatives caused a clash between government and opposition members on Tuesday. Wright is now sitting as an independent member following his resignation from the ruling Jamaica Labour Party. Carol Francis has more.
Tuesday's sitting of Parliament began like any other. The roll was called and the day's business began. Prime Minister Andrew Holness had risen to his feet to make a statement when he was interrupted by Leader of Opposition Business in the House, Anthony Hilton. His contention was the presence of Westmoreland Central MP George Wright on the opposition side of the aisle. Mr. Wright had been on a leave of absence from the House following an alleged physical altercation with a female. He returned to Parliament last week. Since then, he has sat on the opposition side since he had resigned from the Jamaica Labour Party in early June. The opposition took exception to this.
There's a stranger in our midst on this side of the House.
This prompted a response from his government counterpart, Edmund Bartlett.
It is not in the best tradition of Westminster for an interruption to happen after a motion in relation to any matter on the order paper is stated, particularly when it is the Prime Minister who is about to speak. And Madam Speaker, to indicate that a stranger is in the House is a matter that is, first of all, there's no stranger in the House. Anyone who is a member of this House is a member of this House. And Madam Speaker, you know, there is an issue in relation to tolerance and just how much this House can tolerate histrionics and attempts at all times to create media sensation which has no bearing.
What's the point of order?
Speaker,
what's the point of order?
Speaker?
House Speaker Marissa Dalrymple Filbert explained that parliamentary rules allowed for independent members to sit in the House.
We do have a marshal here in Parliament, and if there is a stranger in this House, he will be removed. It is my considered opinion and my ruling this afternoon is that the opposition benches here in Parliament belong to any member of Parliament who is not a member of government.
The opposition would interrupt again.
No, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on a point of order.
No.
Madam Speaker.
I expect, Madam, I am now going to call.
Madam Speaker.
No, I'm not going to allow
Madam Speaker,
you.
on a point of order.
I am
You
now.
have sat there in your chair. You have allowed the leader of government business to impute motive and to call us histrionic because we have sought to express our opinion.
I am
believe
going
that's
to
wrong,
ask
and
the
I believe that it's an abuse
not to
of the majority
record what the
in
member
that
is saying.
matter.
I have not given her permission to speak.
And that's fine. And that is not a surprise. Not the way we have been managed here. It's not a surprise.
I want members of government,
Madam
please.
Madam Speaker.
Members of government. I expect all
Madam
members
Speaker.
of this House, government and opposition, to be respectful.
In the end, Mr. Wright was allowed to sit in the House as an independent member. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
Caribbean Cement Company Limited will be using end-of-life pneumatic tires in the cement production process. It's estimated that more than 2 million used tires are generated in Jamaica annually. Landfills receive approximately 185,700 tires per week. The CCCL has signed a memorandum of understanding with government, agreeing to convert used tires at the landfills into an alternative source of fuel, thereby reducing costs and making a positive impact on the environment. The virtual ceremony was held at Jamaica House on Tuesday. Simone Absalom Gale reports.
Speaking at a virtual signing ceremony held on Tuesday, June 22 at Jamaica House, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said that the agreement will provide a solution to the problem of improper disposal of used tires and the stockpiling of the material at landfills.
Most of these tires are indiscriminately disposed of along roadways, in gullies, stockpiled in open lots, and, of course, stored in our landfills. We receive approximately 185,700 tires per year in all our landfills. So we have a stock and we have a flow, and that stock is not going to be depleted so easily because these tires are not biodegradable. So leaving them there in a stockpile is not a solution. It is creating a problem. And their very presence creates a myriad of environmental hazards, public health risks, along with other challenges.
The Prime Minister commended Caribbean Cement Company Limited on the innovation in transforming used tires into fuel source, noting that the tires will aid in energy conservation in cement production.
End-of-life tires are ideal for use as an alternative fuel in cement production. Burning tires in cement kilns reduces environmental contaminants because organic content completely burns in the kiln and heavy metals are trapped inside the final product. Tires contain zinc and ferrous materials in their composition, and both increase chemical properties and the quality of cement.
The Prime Minister said that the signing symbolizes a change in perception from waste as a problem to waste as a resource.
The lesson that we should learn is that whatever presents a problem, somewhere there, if you search hard enough, if you approach it from an innovative perspective, you can actually find an opportunity.
Tires are 100% recyclable and are a valuable resource. Tires can be used as fuel either in a shredded form, known as tire-derived fuel, or whole. Scrap tires are typically used as a supplement to traditional fuels, such as coal or wood.
The year 2021 marks the 7th annual International Yoga Day. The United Nations theme for this year is Yoga for Well-Being, which takes into account how the practice can promote the holistic health of every individual. The Indian Commission held a yoga session at India House in celebration of the event. It was one of several sessions held across the island, and the PBCJ's Living Healthy team captured highlights of the event.
The consistent practice of yoga can lead to the union of individual consciousness with that of the universal consciousness, indicating a perfect harmony between the mind and body, man and nature. That was the common thought of those who gathered recently at the Indian Commission's India House for a yoga session.
The International Day of Yoga was endorsed, as was said, by a record. In fact, it's probably one of the most I know of, 177 member states, and has been celebrated annually since. This year's celebration comes at a time when the world continues to grapple with both the physical and psychological impacts of COVID-19 and could not be more timely. More than ever, the importance of practicing healthy coping mechanisms is important not only for our body, but for our mental health. Yoga is a group of physical, mental, and spiritual practices that date back to the pre-Vedic times and have now developed into a posture-based physical fitness, stress release, and relaxation technique with proven benefits in reducing stress and anxiety, addressing major health issues, as well as improving flexibility and healing.
Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Favour Williams, applauded the effort of the High Commission.
I know that we're all living through a health crisis. There's been a lot of conversations about the state of our mental health, and if we're able to take some time out from our very busy schedules to be here this morning, even for an hour, to sit in a place, to bring our mind to a place of peace and to center ourselves is going to be to our benefit. As we go forward, I'm sure there are techniques that we will learn today that we can take back and keep practicing in our lives.
You should know that yoga is for everyone, whether you're young or old, overweight or fit. Yoga has the power to calm the mind and strengthen the body. That's what we learned from High Commissioner of India to Jamaica, His Excellency Masakwi Yong-song.
In fact, this has been practicing for a long time in India, since ancient times, but this has become even more important in these modern days when people are suffering from, those lifestyle diseases like hypertension, the blood pressure and diabetes and so on and so forth. It is also to have a peaceful relationship with our fellow being, and not just within our human fellow beings, but also have a symbiotic relationship with our environment. I think that is very crucial again, because we are having a huge problem of climate change, which I think because of the greed of human being, there's a rampant destruction of our environment. And yoga is a very holistic celebration. So it's not just starting from within, but also involving the community and also extending the celebration and this practice to the environment. And I think this is cannot be more relevant today.
The High Commissioner says yoga is a healthy activity that can be done at home with family. Remember, if a pose causes pain or proves too difficult, there are variations and modifications that can be made to help you. Yoga is not a one-size-fits-all. The best yoga workout for you depends on your individual needs and goals.
We now get an update on some of the latest market shifts in this quick business report. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 2,521 points to close at over 437,000 units. Overall, market activity resulted from trading in 96 stocks, of which 29 advanced, 52 declined, and 15 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 33 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Stocks declined for Barita Investments Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares. Trading firm were 138 Students Living Jamaica Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Cargo Handlers Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with over 4.3 million units, followed by JMMB Group Limited with 1.3 million units and Daren Trading Company Limited with under 900,000 units. In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, June 22, the US dollar sold for an average $150.24. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $122.64. The pound sterling traded for $208.81, and the euro sold for an average $178.61. In market data for oil, Brent crude futures added 0.61 points to settle at $75.42 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude gained 0.53 points to settle at $73.38 a barrel. Over now to news from the region. In the Bahamas, the country's Attorney General says if the Privy Council in the United Kingdom upholds the landmark Supreme Court decision on citizenship, the government will have to make changes to the law.
I'm sure that the Bahamian people will not accept any judgment on a matter that doesn't come from the highest court in the land, which is the Privy Council.
It's an issue the country has voted against twice. The Court of Appeal in a 3-2 decision affirmed a landmark ruling handed down by Supreme Court Justice Ian Winder last year that allows children born out of wedlock to Bahamian men and foreign women in the Bahamas to be entitled to citizenship from birth. Court of Appeal Justice Stella Crane Scott said, "For all the reasons outlined in this judgment, I'm satisfied that the proper interpretation which the framer intended to be given to Article 6 of the Bahamas Constitution is that every person born in the Bahamas after the 9th of July 1973 shall become a citizen of the Bahamas at the date of his birth, if at that date either of his biological parents is a citizen of the Bahamas, irrespective of the marital status of the parents at the time of birth." The two other Court of Appeal justices disagreed. Well, Bethel says he feels regardless of which side won, it would have made its way to the Privy Council. So what happens if the Privy Council in the UK affirms this ruling?
We will all be bound to follow it. And so whatever adjustments would have to be made to domestic law would have to be made in order to accommodate the views, if that is their view. If not, there would be no changes.
Bahamians passed up on the opportunity to address this same issue twice, voting no in 2 referenda, most recently in 2016. Bethel says it's on this very premise that his office is taking the matter to the Privy Council.
We will advance the same positions that we have advanced to date in the Privy Council, that the existing Constitution, as originally written, as originally supported by the Bahamian people on 2 occasions, ought to prevail.
Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson said he hasn't been able to sit and read the ruling as yet, but he understands it.
I haven't properly gone through the decision. I haven't taken full advice from the Attorney General. And I think to say that, hey, we have some of the most brilliant judges in the world, and we respect their decision. And if their determination is made that we will go to the Privy Council, that's what we will do.
The Ministry of Education in Trinidad and Tobago is assuring that all systems are in place for the upcoming Secondary Entrance Assessment (SEA) exam due to take place on July 1. The country's education minister also announced a make-up date for the exam should any student be unable to write the exam on the day if they are ill or in quarantine. Sunil Lala of TTT News reports.
19,656 students have been registered to write the SEA exam on July 1st, and the Education Ministry says temperature checks, sanitizing, physical distancing and isolation areas are all in place to ensure the safety of both invigilators and students. Chief Education Officer Lisa Henry David notes that repairs to schools have been ongoing, and with the exception of 2 schools, all repairs would be completed by June 28th.
Arrangements have been made for students of those 2 schools to be comfortably accommodated at neighboring schools.
Education Minister Nayan Gatsvidoli says if a child is in quarantine or is sick, they would be allowed to sit the exam on July 21st.
So parents would have to be in contact with the principals and indicate the circumstances so that students can be accommodated for the make-up exam for the SEA.
And Director of School Supervision Naima Hussein notes that over 3,600 teachers and school administrations involved on the day have been vaccinated, and this will continue over the weekend.
And on Saturday, the 26th of June, 2021, an additional 500 teachers and or administrators who are willing to volunteer to supervise the SEA 2021 will be vaccinated.
Curfew passes, meanwhile, will be given out to administrative staff in the lead-up to the exam day to carry out their duties. CXC officials who have the responsibility of marking the exam are currently in quarantine. Of the 183 requests submitted for deferral of the exam, 176 have been granted. The ministry reminds that the uniform requirement for the exam has been relaxed, and students and parents are required to show up at the exam center 1 hour before exam time without congregating. Sonolala, TTT News.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, after 3 weeks of serving the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the contingent that formed part of the Regional Security System's disaster relief effort returned to the country on Sunday. We get more details in this report.
They were warmly greeted at the RLB International Airport after disembarking the RSS aircraft. Present to welcome them home were Prime Minister and Minister of National Security Dr. Timothy Harris, Commissioner of Police Hilroy Brandy, Assistant Commissioner of Police with responsibility for operations Adolph Adams, as well as Major Sutton and Captain Jervin Lapsey from the St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force. Prime Minister Dr. Harris told the officers and soldiers that he was informed by the Commissioner of Police that they did an excellent job. He congratulated them on behalf of the Cabinet and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Commissioner of Police Hilroy Brandy also congratulated the officers. Contingency Leader Inspector James Stefan reported that for the duration of the mission, the morale of the group was high and their discipline was of a high standard. He was assisted by Staff Sergeant Marvin Payne while there, and he assured everyone present that the troops did their best to represent the Federation well. The eruption of the La Souffliere volcano caused the evacuation of thousands from the northern section of the main island of St. Vincent. There was large-scale devastation in what was referred to as the red and orange zones. It was against this backdrop that the government of the territory made a request to the RSS for assistance with disaster relief efforts and to provide support to local law enforcement agencies in maintaining security. I am Jacinta Teixeira reporting for SKN Newsline.
And in sports, we go to cricket. Former West Indies captain Daren Sammy is the newest independent member of the Cricket West Indies CWI Board of Directors. The two-time World 2020 winning captain joins Jamaican sports medicine physician Dr. Ashki Mansingh and Trinidadian attorney Deborah Corriette Patton. According to a CWI release on Tuesday, the appointment of Sammy is in keeping with two of the fundamental principles which have guided CWI's improvement strategy for the past 2 years: increased utilization of regional technical expertise and the implementation of a cricket-first policy. According to the CWI, all directors' appointments will expire in 2023. And that's the news. You have just watched the news on PBCJ, the People's Station.